Assalamualaikum everyone, how are you all? My name is Amar Yusuf. So guys, today my chapter 16, uh, Harperly to Killing a Mockingbird. Jem heard me. He thrusted his head around the connecting door. As he came to my bed, Atticus' light flashed on when we stayed where we were until it went off. We had him turned over, and we waited until he was still again. Jem took me into his room and put me to his bed beside him. Try go to sleep, he said. I'll be over after tomorrow, maybe. We had come in quietly as not to wake. Auntie Atticus killed the engine in the driveway and accosted to the car house. We went in the back door and to our rooms without a word. It was very tired and it was drifting into sleep when the memory of Atticus' claim, floating his newspaper and pushing back his hat, became Atticus standing in the middle of an empty waiting street, pushing up his glasses. The full meaning of the night events hit him and I began crying. Jem was awfully nice about it. For once, he didn't remind me that people nearly 9 years old didn't do things like that. Everybody appreciated was delicate this morning except Jem's. He ate his way through 3 eggs. Atticus watched in frank administration. Aunt Alexandra sipped coffee and radiated waves of disapproval. Children who slept out at night were a disgrace to the family. Atticus said he was right, glad his degrees had come along, but Auntie said, "Nonsense, Mr. Underwood was there all the time." "You know, it's a funny thing about Bracton," said Aunt Atticus. "He desperate Negroes won't have one near him. Local option held and Mr. Underwood to be an instant profane little man. Those father in a few hit of Homer Christian Bracton Bragg, a name Mr. Underwood had done his best to live down. Atticus said, maiming people after conference generation made slow, steady drinkers. Calpurnia was serving Aunt Alexandra more coffee, and she shocked her heard at what I thought was a plain winning look. "You are still so litty," she said. "I'll tell you when you ain't." I said it might help my stomach. "All right," she said, and got a cup of the slide board. She poured one tablespoonful of coffee into it and filled the cup to the brim with milk. I thanked her by sneaking out my tongue at it and looked up to catch Auntie's warning. She waited until Calpurnia was in the kitchen. Then she said, "Don't walk like that in front of them." "Talk like what in front of whom?" he asked. "Like what in front of Calpurnia? You said Bracton. Underwood, desperate Negro's right in front of her. Well, I'm sure Cal knows it. Everybody in Macomb knows it." I began to notice subtle change in my father these days that come out when he killed the Aunt Alexandra. It was a quiet digging in never outright irritation. There was a faint scratches in her voice when she said, "Anything fit to say at the tables, fit to say in front of Calpurnia. She knows what the means or to his family. I don't think it is a good habit, Atticus. It encouraged them. You know how they talk among themselves. Everything that happened is in this town's out of the quarters before sat down. My father put down his knife. I don't know of any law that says they. My father put his knife. I don't know of law that he said they can't talk. Maybe we do. Give them so much to talk about. They'd be quiet. Why don't you drink your coffee, Scout? I am playing with my spoon. I threw Mr. Cunningham was a friend of ours. You told me a long time ago he was. He still is, but last time he wanted to hurt you. Atticus placed his fork beside his knife and pushed his plate aside. Mr. Chungham, basically a good man, he said. He just had his blind spot along with his rest of us. Jem spoke, don't call that a blind spot. He'd killed you last time when he first went there. He might have hurt you little, Atticus. Constant, but son, you'll understand flocks a little better. You were old. Mobs always make up of people who matter. What was the part of mob last night? But he was still a man. Every mob in every little southern town is always made up of people you know. Don't doesn't stay much for them, does it? I'll say not, said Jim. So it took an 8 years old child to bring him to their senses, didn't it? Said Atticus. That proves something, that a gang of wild animals can be stopped simply because they are still human. Maybe we need a police of force of children. You children last night made Walter Cunningham stand in my shoes for a minute. That was enough. Well, I hope them I would understand Flux a little better when he was older. I won't. I wouldn't first day. Walter comes back to school. I'll be his last. I infront him. You will not touch him, Atticus said fatly. I don't want either of you being a grinded about these things, no matter you means. You see, don't you, said Aunt Alexandra. Aunt Alexandra, what comes of things like this? Don't say I haven't told you. Atticus said he's never said that, pushed out his chair and got up. There's a day ahead, so excuse me, Jem. And got up there's a day ahead, so excuse me, Jem. Don't want you and Scout down today, please. So Atticus departed some bounding today down the hall into the dining room. It's all over town this morning. He announced all about how he held off 100 flocks without our bare hands. Aunt Alexandra started him to silence. It was not 100 flocks, he said, and nobody held anybody off. It was just a nest of drunk and discovered. Oh, Aunt, that's just Dill's way, said Jem. He signaled us to follow him. You all stay in the yard today, she said, and we make our way to the front porch. It was like Saturday. People from the south and from the country passed our house in a leisurely but steady stream. Mr. Dolphin Raymond lurched on his thoroughbred. Don't see how he stays in the sadly murdered gem. How can you stand to get drunk for 8 in the morning? Said Exbilus. Curl asked him to spell, and it had said X. Aren't you going down to watch Archdale? I'm not a morbid watching a pure devil on trial for his life at all. Those flocks like a Roman carnival. Mr. Dolphin Raymond seems to be doing seem to be so doing to yellow drug stores straws. Now, yeah. The Macomb Country Courthouse was faintly remembrance of elegant in except burned in 1865. This was a news that put a different light on things. He reserved said them now Scott her missed her up. Taylor Jem, I said. Are those the everlasting down yonder hush? Said Jem. Mr. Hook testifying Mr. Tate had dressed for the occasion. He wrote an orientation business suit which made him look somehow like every other man. Gone were his high boost jumper jacket and bullet studded belt. From that moment he casted to terrify me. He was sitting towards in the witness chair to in his hands, collapsed between his knees, listening attentively to the circuit coloration. The scoltation and Mr. Grimmer was not well known to us, convicted, and that really for court was of no special interest to Jem and me. A blending smooth 40 and 60, all the mix, Calpurnia things to he was also taking Jim. Mr. Tate said, I was the night of Remember 21st. I was just leaving my office and go to him when Mr. Evel came in very excited he was and said, get out to his house quickly. Some nigger raped his girl. Did you go? Suddenly got it in the car and went out as fast as I could. Atticus said, I I just wanted to make sure just and the just smile. Thank you. And please guys subscribe my channel, like करें, share करें, comment करें and don't forget to press the bell icon.